If you look at the artwork in the left margin as I flip the pages, you'll see the effects of time, and the person in the statue decomposes. Cool. This is Ronald, the rules lawyer, back from a life-imposed hiatus to talk about the Book of the Dead. I'm going to do a few videos about the Book of the Dead. It's the new book by Paizo for Pathfinder 2e, and it's got a lot of stuff. It's jam-packed for stuff for players and game masters. And even though this video focuses on the lore, tools for GMs, and items, I think players will get some use out of this video too, because you'll see some ideas that you may want to pose to your GMs as to what they can do for your campaign. So first on the lore, I'll admit I'm not a lore guy, and I think that's actually not because I'm not interested in lore, but I'm not a person that has much free time. And so when I see a huge book about Absalom, which looks absolutely amazing, but is 400 pages, I'm not inclined to look through it. But for the purpose of this video series, I did look through the Book of the Dead and read through the book, much of the book, and I quite liked it. This takes the same approach as Secrets of Magic did in having a lot of pages that are written in character by people within Golarion, the Pathfinder campaign setting, and in this case specifically Geb, who is the undead ghost archmage of the nation of Geb in Golarion. Geb was at war with his archmage rival neighbor to the north, Nex, thousands of years ago, and when Geb's armies fell, he used necromancy to raise his armies up in the war, and since then has been fully committed to necromancy to ensure the success of his nation. What I really like about the writing in this book is that you see his own justifications for his actions. While they are irredeemably evil, he has a logic. He has an argument for what he does. And, for example, he sees most societies that bury and honor the dead as wasting perfectly good flesh that can be used for menial tasks. And in fact, undead, together with living slaves, do the menial labor in his nation. The first section of the book is devoted to explaining the nature of undead within the campaign setting. They are fueled by negative energy and also driven by that negative energy to act the way that they do, the various sorts of undead. There's also commentary on organizations within the campaign world of Golarion, other personages, a lot of it from Geb's point of view, in which he throws a lot of shade at other organizations and peoples who combat the undead, and it's a joy to read. The entire book is presented as an evolving academic work that is going through constant revision. In the first section of the book are writings that he began in his youth about combating the undead. Here we'll find options for archetypes and items and lore articles about combating the undead, and in my future videos I'll go more in detail over the character options. Here there are 13 new items for player characters and GMs to use, including Bottled Sunlight, which is a bomb that deals both positive and fire damage, and so ideal against the undead and especially ideal against mummies. Then there is Life Salt, which does persistent positive damage, which is of course excellent against certain undead creatures. And there's a great item that I like to highlight called Feast of Hungry Ghosts, which gives nourishment to a willing undead creature that they consume over an hour, and they become friendly to you for 24 hours and are no longer driven by insatiable hunger and can actually communicate with you. So you get to make friends with people beyond death. The next section is for still living characters to harness the undead, including having undead animal companions, eidolons, and familiars, and using necromancy in combat. The next section is on actually becoming undead. Geb himself became an immortal ghost after his death, and this reflects that part of his life. And here we find information on being either a ghost, a ghoul, a lich, a vampire, a mummy, a skeleton, or a zombie. And all of these options, it should be noted, are rare, and so require GM permission to give. But this is a handy way to deal with player character death. They can take an archetype in vampire, mummy, or one of the other archetypes. Not only are there archetypes that you can graft onto an already existing player character, but there's also one ancestry that a character can have at character creation, namely the skeleton ancestry. Here we find 2 pages of good solid advice on homebrewing your own ghost story adventure, including 3 principles of ghost story adventures, some archetypal ghost stories, and a 3-act structure. Then we get a couple dozen haunts that GMs can throw at their players, including a way for a character to die from the sight of their own doom, and a complex hazard in which corpses try to drag the party beneath the ground. The next sections of the book are basically Geb's evolving gazetteer about the world of Golarion. So first, there's many monsters that take up over 100 pages. So there's a lot that GMs can work with here. First and foremost, the first few pages have very simple templates that you can put onto another stat block or even a non-player character to turn them into a skeleton, zombie, ghoul, ghost, mummy, shadow, vampire, or wight. So this gives you a lot of tools to homebrew your own creatures, but you may very well want to use a lot of the monsters that are here. There's the Onryu, which is inspired by the ghosts from the Ring movies from Japan. One of my favorite stat blocks is for the Grappling Spirit, which is essentially a luchador who teleports and does clotheslines against enemies, and also during certain moments can force observers to applaud for them. Also, I really liked the Vetalarana vampires, which suck minds instead of blood, and also can leave their victims comatose, such that when the vampire actually gets slain, they then inhabit the bodies of one of the people that they have victimized. And higher level versions can also manipulate many of their victims at once. It's a very cool monster that could be the main villain of a homebrew campaign. Now this one I just thought was really cool. The Polong comes from the Malay mythology, and it is an evil spirit housed in a bottle that possesses people, and is created by an evil spellcaster who gathers the blood of a murdered person and then furthermore feeds it with their own blood. And we now have a way to deal with resurrections that go terribly wrong. When there's a critical failure, according to the core rulebook, they turn into some kind of abomination, and that is now the Unrisen that is provided to us by the Book of the Dead. Also, one of the things that I really liked in the first bestiary was we were given a lot of alternate abilities that we could include on our zombies and skeletons, and those have been expanded in other bestiaries, but they have been expanded further here for skeletons, zombies, liches, and grave knights. The monsters are then followed by a chapter on notable places in Golarion in which undead are present or prominent, and these are told from the standpoint of Geb himself and his studies into how to run a state. He covers the classic Western horror nation of Ustalav, and also discusses the nation of Mizali, which is run by an immortal undead child, and also an underground city run by ghouls. Interestingly enough, Geb itself is not written from Geb's point of view, probably because he speaks a lot elsewhere, but from the point of view of a human trying to survive it. The book ends with a 20-page third-level adventure, and I think that these adventures being included in these books is a great idea. It gives an opportunity for groups to try the options in the book in a one-shot. Now, there's a spoiler about the adventure I'm about to give for GMs. If you think there's a chance that you may play this adventure, close your eyes until I tell you to open them. The adventure has a homage to the classic movie shown on the screen. You can open your eyes again. So that's my first installment on the Book of the Dead. My next videos will be on the player options and my thoughts on them. As you can see, this was kind of a low stress, low effort video for me, and I'm still trying to get back into the groove of things. I had planned this whole 10-part series on the Book of the Dead originally, but I had to scale it back due to real life events. I thank everyone for the love and support I've received, but as you can see, I've had to scale back my original plans. Please like and subscribe for the next videos and join my Discord. And also thanks to my patrons, and many, many thanks for my dear mother, who I lost recently, and for everything she's given me.